Okay, to welcome to chapter 9, that the world may believe. A Christian mission to the Christian world. And straight off, we are drawing on some of the Reformation stuff. As we look at the Missio Dei, the mission of God. Is it your mission to do the mission, or is it God's mission to do the mission? And so you should be instantly thinking a bit of Calvinism, Arminianism, and thinking about that sort of stuff. Do feel free to talk to Moira about the balance of that. This is the balance of making Jesus king, which is a brilliant strapline. Who would disagree with that? Good mission statement. But of course, there's an overtone there of works. Look at me, I'm going to make Jesus king. I thought he was king already. Why do I need to be making him king? Isn't he king? I thought he was king. So there's an element of the theology of works tucked away in there, perhaps unintentionally. But there's a challenge. What if we were to look at this differently? Less Christocentric universalism. Jesus is significant for all the universe, with its colonial assumptions that go with that, and with its this sense of, well, what are we doing when we do mission? We're trying to make a proper Christian. What does it mean to make a proper Christian? And why are we doing the making? Isn't that the mission of God? Isn't it God's job? Isn't it the Holy Spirit who's supposed to be the one who does the mission? He's supposed to be the one who converts, isn't it? The Holy Spirit. So in moving away from a Christocentric universalism, with its assumptions of colonialism, with its assumptions that all we're really looking for is a confession that Jesus Christ is Lord, something quite simple like that, and move instead towards a Trinitarianism, where we might see we're looking for a liberating, restorative movements of the Holy Spirit, manifesting the love of God to all mankind. So not just merely focusing on getting people to, shall I say, merely accept the lordship of Christ. So this is Missio Dei, the mission of God, rather than no, Missio Me, my mission. And so we draw into this dangerous tightrope that we Protestants have struggled with. Of course, I'm not really a Protestant, I'm a Reformed Catholic, I'm Anglican, but we Protestants, we struggle with this social gospel. Isn't our job really to depopulate hell and make heaven as crowded as possible? One remark at General Synod in February, where we were discussing the importance of the fifth mark of mission, which is God's creation and our care for the ecology in the environment, and in doing so, that is mission. And this chap stands up and goes, "No, it's not mission. Mission is when we, rescue people from hell, when we stop people from going to hell because we tell them about the love of Christ." And not everyone agreed with him. So there is this view that this is this problem. Are we erring into a social gospel as we look at this? Vatican II, because you've got to have Vatican II in a course like this. And you've got some stuff there to do with John 23rd and Pope Paul VI. And you've got issues to do with the authority of local bishops and the laity invited. There's some quite good stuff there to do with keeping women silent in the churches, and this issue of, can we accept other Christians? Can we accept them to be saved? And certain turns of phrases that we might find a bit disappointing, and this broader sense of, can we accept other religions? And the sort of all truth is God's truth approach that we see. But what I think is worthy of pointing out, just in a little teaser trailer like these YouTubes are trying to be, is this aspect of human rights. So Vatican I, if you like, not keen on this idea of human rights, but by Vatican II, very much so. Human person has universal rights which are inviolable because they stem from a sublime dignity. Page 207 in Stanley. You've got the hang of this by now, surely. You've got stuff to do with artificial birth control and celibacy. We've kind of visited that, I feel, before when we were looking at France, for example. Now, but what the biggest thing I think of Vatican II is this vernacular issue, having the mass in the vernacular. I've got somebody in my village who's rather disappointed about Vatican II and this mass in the vernacular, and you know, couldn't it have been? You know, it's not a good move, not a good move. But I think the Chinese would disagree, and we saw that when we looked at the chapter on China, both the underground church as well as the official Catholic church, and the way in which they were able to bring in the mass in Chinese. A lot of this authority is handed over to bishops' conferences, bottom of page 69. So here you've got this element of authority that's being given to the bishops, kind of an authority away from the papacy, but there's always very much a footnote that says, yes, but the Pope can overall remind you of what's right, what's wrong, that sort of thing. But definitely the whole concept of the mass being in the vernacular. Of course, you don't want it in the vernacular because when it's in the Latin, we're all agreed on its implications and its subtleties and what it's really getting at. And so there's less scope for doctrinal error. So I follow that argument, but I still think it's good when the body and blood of Christ can be celebrated in the language that you understand, in the vernacular. So we turn to the Protestant approach, and we turn to the Uppsala Assembly of 68 in Sweden and the Lausanne Congress of 74 in Switzerland. And here, what I'm wanting to point you to here is Hans Högenjik and his criticism of the centric approach that we've been talking about thus far, the importance of the three self-church, self-governing, self-financing, self-propagating. And he comes along and says, well, what if the gospel was about something else? What if it was about restoring human beings to being human? Now, hopefully there should be a part of you that goes, well, yeah, all right. You know, worship shouldn't be seen as something that happens between the church and God, but between the world and God. The church should just be the instrument, not the center of mission. And now there's a part of you that goes, where are we going with this? Just before I give it the thumbs up or the thumbs down, where are we going with this? And its intention is to be against those who merely see, should we say merely, mission as the proclamation of Christ's redemption. It's a good part of us that would not care to have the phrase merely attached to that sort of idea. I'd like you to note the PCR, Program to Combat Racism, because we will pick up on it later, but not for now. But it's in there because of a later relevance, and it's just worthy of a quick mention here. So we come to the International Congress of Evangelization. It's organized by Billy Graham. It's going to be thoroughly evangelical. Kind of curious about what that would mean today, as I find that label. I find a lot of labels rather confusing nowadays. Never mind. And here we've got these contributions. Can we see the gospel as cosmic as well as personal? And here you're supposed to overhear the overtones of the undertones here of a crime against that American cultural Christianity, that marketing approach that we looked at when we looked at Sweden and America and secularism, wasn't it, when we looked at those then. Here, this plea from Samuel Escobar, this call that the gospel can't be just spiritualized, where millions of are poor and brokenhearted and captive and blind and bruised. The heart, which has been made free with the freedom of Christ, cannot be indifferent to the human longings for deliverance from economic, political, or social oppression. So I'm sorry about that ping, but that's my local good neighbors scheme pinging, giving me an update about the people who need food parcels delivered on account of COVID-19. And so there you are, gospel being practical, or social gospel. Not sure if we like social gospel, but that's it pinging away there in the background. Very timely there. Orlando Costas, the Puerto Rican, coming up with this word conscientization. Already he nicks it from somebody else, but maybe some of this lockdown that we're suffering from will cause us to have more of a conscientization going on. So John Stott puts all this together and does a very good job of it. What we have here then is the mission in a post-colonial age. You've got to keep this context in mind. We've talked about colonies and independence already, and so that's what's that's a lot of the backstory of what's going on here. John Stott, when I talked to him about whether or not should I stay on being an Anglican? Why bother being an Anglican? Why not go and be a Baptist? His answer was, it's the best boat to fish from. I don't think I'm the only person he told that to. I think he put it in some books and so on. Best boat to fish from. So this is where evangelical Protestants and Roman Catholics agree on the institution of the church as being the divinely appointed vehicle of salvation in how we go about things. But in the process of all this, you've got liberals who are very happy going along with whatever cultural movement is culturally moving society and just going with the flow of it. But note that even liberal Christians in the West, confronted by plummeting membership rolls, felt that evangelism must form at least part of the core of the mission of the church. So even the liberals are beginning to wake up and go, oh, we must think a bit of a mission. I came across this book because Amazon thought I would like it. And I went ahead and bought it. And in here, it's a very good book about how to grow your church. And it's quite a simple idea that she's got, which is basically to do with welcoming. It's really thin as well. And it's not a plug for the book with regard to the course. It's a plug for her attitude. We can't just let evangelicals grow, because if only evangelicals who grow, that will affect the shape of the church. We liberals, we need to be growing, and we need to be growing with them by showing them the love and the difference that being part of a worshiping community makes. I just thought that was a really interesting throwaway remark that she puts in her book about how we don't want to end up being like those Christians, those evangelicals. She obviously does want to be a Christian. Bear in mind that she's coming from, albeit an Episcopal perspective, it's an American Episcopalian that she is. So she is using those words evangelical in ways in which I, on this side of the pond, don't. And then, of course, if you're old enough to remember the decade of evangelism, 1990 to 2000, and even though there was this push, let's do evangelism, let's do mission, even though there was this great big push, all dioceses experienced a decline in that. Salisbury saw a drop of 12%, Durham a drop of 30%. Okay, London experienced some growth that they saw. That's enough for the moment. And hopefully I will see you again shortly to talk about liberation theology. Rather exciting.